What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about my thoughts as a professional player on the Adidas Adizero Select 3.0. In my opinion, the name is a little bit too long, but the shoes actually positively surprised me. So let's get straight into it. Start with the retail price. They come in at a very fair price of 110 euros or dollars. In my opinion, that is a really good price in today's market, as you also get a quite good amount of tech in this shoe. I got my pair from Kicks, they're a partner store of mine, so you can find an affiliate link in the description box down below, or just use the code LUKAS for a discount. Now back to the shoes, as I said, retail price very fair. And for the first performance category, the traction performance, and that is definitely a standout feature of this shoe. For the pattern, we have a traditional herringbone type pattern and a normal rubber outsole. So at first glance, it's nothing special, but let's be honest, herringbone always works really well and is a very consistent setup. So I'm happy with it. The rubber compound itself is actually also quite durable. I was really surprised at that as well, as last year's model was very soft and not durable at all. These have held up very well. I've used them in the gym and indoors. I haven't used them outdoors, but I've seen some videos of other reviewers using them outdoors and they held up just fine. So in my opinion, they are good to go as well if you use them moderately on an outdoor court. And now for the grip itself, it is absolutely amazing. These bite crazy hard on an indoor court, especially on a clean court, obviously, but also on the dustier setups I tried them on. They really had an amazing grip and stopped on a dime almost every single time. So it really is the standout feature next to the weight, but we're going to get to that a little bit later on in the video, of the Adizero Select 3.0. Last year's model also struggled with that. I really didn't enjoy them. I don't even have my pair anymore. We have a fully solid rubber outsole in this colorway, which is the Eurocam colorway, by the way. It's got some really cool details with the Italian flag here, the Eurocam logo in the back, and the cam is actually held in Treviso, which it also says here on the tongue, which is actually relatively close to where I grew up in Austria. So I definitely wanted to get that specific colorway. For one, I really like the color blocking and how it looks on foot. I also really like this golden shank plate here. And the second thing is just the connection for me with that city, as I've been there quite a few times already on vacation or holiday. Now moving on to a feature that is definitely not a standout feature of the shoe, which is the cushioning. It is way better than last year, but it's still not very good, unfortunately. But it's just to the point where I can actually hoop with them and not worry about me walking straight on the ground. Last year's model, if you've hooped in them, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It felt like having like a sheet of paper as a cushioning setup underneath your feet. And here it feels way better. There's actually some compression. You can see some compression marks, especially in the heel, and even if quite a few ones here in the forefoot. We have a full length light strike cushioning setup, which can always be good or bad. Sometimes it feels really nice, like on this pair, or like just for light strike standards. And sometimes it feels really bad, like on last year's model. If I compare with something else, I might compare it to the cushioning setup of the Sabrina 2, just inverse rolls, a little bit more in the heel and a lower to the ground forefoot, which is actually what I prefer in a shoe. So for me, this is quite nice. And as I said, there's just enough impact protection in the heel. But if you're a bigger player and you need like a lot of impact protection, a lot of cushioning, these are definitely not for you. I would highly discourage you from getting these. For quick guards, for shifty players, awesome setup. And if overall you don't need a lot of cushioning, it's a really nice setup. For the insole, it's your regular Adidas Orphalite insole. It's also not glued into the shoe, so you can get it out there relatively easily. Here you can see it in the heel. I'm also going to put a close-up on there. And the stroll board just has one cutout in the heel, so stepping comfort is also not the best. But the shoe, when you slip it on, it actually feels really nice and responsive. Also kind of stiff at first, but that's something I like. I need a shoe that has a good support and especially good torsional support, which is going to be the next category we're going to talk about. The support features are actually pretty good. At first glance, you think like, oh, do these have a carbon fiber shank plate? Unfortunately, they don't. It's just a plastic that looks a little bit like carbon fiber, and especially in other colorways if it's a darker color, but it still works really well. So if you try to flex them, the midfoot does not bend at all, and this is exactly how I think a basketball shoe should be, because your foot also doesn't flex in that position, and this is also exactly how I like it. Some people might find that to be a little bit like, or that might find that to cause some discomfort just because they're not used to stiff setups like that. But in my opinion, it's the perfect setup for a basketball shoe. Essentially, it's like having an insole in there, or like a custom insole that adds support for your arch. And they flex here in the forefoot, as you can see, which is always nice when you're running up and down the court. This is also where your toes are flexing when you're running. So in my opinion, as I said, the perfect setup. We also have a heel counter and a lacing system. The lacing system is a little bit weird to lace down. You have two extra reinforced lace loops down here all the way at the end of the shoe. And then on the top, they're just literally going through the eyelets. There's no reinforcements like pulling them down on the side. So these up here don't really do too much. And I know some people also experienced heel slip. I didn't if I laced them down really, really tightly, but if you loose lace them or if you don't tie them down all the way, you're for sure going to experience heel slip, because the fit is also just a tiny little bit long, slightly narrow as well, but after breaking, wide footers like me can also definitely fit their feet in there. But my recommendation would be, if you have narrow feet, you can definitely go down half a size. If you have wide feet, I would go true to size and definitely don't go up a size, because these are going to be way too big. There's going to be way too much toe room here, or just like way too much wiggle room here in the toe box. And now for the supportive features to round it up, I mentioned the heel counter and the shank plate is just overall a good feeling. It's not the most supportive shoe on the market. There's also even better options from Adidas, like for example the Harden Volume 9. These are crazy supportive. So if you're looking for a lot of support and really great lockdown, these are probably the option for you. But they also sacrifice weight in terms of that support. And now for the last performance category, it's going to be the materials. That's also going to play in hand with the weight of the shoe. We have a full textile upper here. It's all blue, and we have some plastic key overlays. It feels really, really nice on foot. It's very breathable. It's even see-through, like right here. If I look through here, I can see everything on the other side that's going on, which is just really cool. The material is so thin, yet still containing enough for you to have your foot on the footbed and not sliding out a lot. But as I said, it's also not the most supportive thing. Just because the material is so thin, it really can't contain bigger guys, in my opinion at least. If you really do like a hard stop or something, there's a chance that the material won't hold you on the footbed. For people that are around my weight or just in general guards and forwards, I think it's gonna work. And what's also really nice is that the materials take almost no time to break in. The time that, or the break-in time that you need, is actually for just the fit or the shape of the shoe, especially here on the side. It's a little bit narrow and it will push against your foot. But simply for a material standpoint, it's really, really nice. There's also almost no padding. So if you're someone who wants a lot of comfort and padding in the shoe, these are also not for you. But if you really want a minimal, fast feeling shoe, these are a great option, especially for 110. And I've seen some places have them already on sale, so you can even get them for cheaper or just wait a little bit. And as I said, if you shop in at Kicks, use the code Lucas. We have minimal padding here in the heel. It really isn't that much, but it's also not to a point where it's uncomfortable. I didn't notice any areas of the materials digging into my ankle area, which is always nice. And the tongue, as I said, also almost has no padding, but the laces don't really cut into your feet because they are kind of soft and a little bit thicker. So I think that was a really good thing from Adidas to do there, to really try to keep the shoe as minimal as possible, but still not to a point where it won't be comfortable enough for you to play with them for a longer period of time. And now for the last thing, the weight of the shoe, that is definitely the best thing alongside the traction performance. They come in at, keep in mind, this is a size 13.5, so it's a way bigger size than your usual reviewers. And they come in at 421 grams. And just for reference, a shoe like the Sabrina 2, which is also really, really lightweight, comes in at 429 grams. So they are even lighter than the Sabrina 2. Just for reference, I think a lot of you have hooped in the Sabrina 2. And why I actually like them a little bit more, not from a fit standpoint, because these are better for wide feet, but simply from a performance standpoint is, if you compare where the Sabrina flexes, it flexes right here in the midfoot where I want them to be stable. That's also the reason why I use these with insoles. And now you compare it with these, lighter, but still better torsional support, and that's just an amazing combination. Also slightly better cushioning in the heel. So for me, just from a performance standpoint, these are better. The fit, I still need to break them in a little bit. It still hurts kind of on my right foot because that one is especially wide. But overall, this is a really, really nice basketball shoe, and I was positively surprised, and I can actually recommend them for indoors and for moderate outdoor use. And now a little bit of a story time. If you're wondering why I held the shoe in my left hand at all times right now in this video, I can't use my right hand that much because yesterday evening in practice, it's going to sound really weird, but that's what happened. A teammate bit me by accident into my shoulder right, pinched up right here. And it hurts a little bit if I move my shoulder. It's not that bad, but the reason why it could have been bad is, well, actually, maybe I should explain how it happened. I was driving to the basket. He was closing out on me. I was going by him, and I think he stumbled over my, the leg that I had behind because I was in a split stance, and he stumbled a little bit, and then he fell with his teeth into my shoulder area. So like right here is the place, and it hurt a little bit, and I put some disinfectant on it, but I didn't think too much of it. But then I called my girlfriend after practice and I told her about it because she studies medicine and she's like already in her 4th year. So she's got like a pretty good understanding already of injuries and that stuff. It's really useful actually for a basketball player. And she said that I should have that checked out because human bites are really, really, really infectious. because you have an insanely high amount of bacteria in your mouth, which is absolutely normal. But if those things get into your flesh or into wounds, that shit can really get nasty. And because it was an open wound, because like the tooth literally went in and out of my skin and flesh, she said I should definitely have that checked out, simply because it could really be infected quite easily. I went to the hospital. They also told me like it's great that I came by, because the doctor that was in charge there said he'd seen like smaller bites already that caused that caused crazy infections, and like people couldn't move their limbs for like 3 months or something like that if it's not treated right away. So they treated it, they rinsed it out. They actually had to cut part of the wound out. So I got like a local anesthesia, and they like, I don't know, scrapped some parts out that might have already been infected. Then they stitched it back up, and now I can't hoop for 10 days because I'm not allowed to sweat much, because that can also cause an infection again. So yeah, that's really the weirdest injury I've ever had in basketball. And for some OGs of you, if you remember David Lee, he actually had a thing where he got a tooth stuck in his elbow, and then he had to have 2 surgeries on there, and he missed like, I think 3-4 weeks because it also got infected. And that's the first thing that came to my mind. So I instantly, after practice, I called my girlfriend and asked her what I should do. And apparently it was the right thing to do. Also, the doctors in the hospital told me that. But yeah, that's it for today's video. If you have any questions, no matter if you want to know anything more about the Adizero Select 3.0 or about this weird injury that I have, just let me know down below in the comment sections. I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like on this video, and it would even help me out more if you could subscribe to my channel. With that being said, have a good one and see you next time.